Be Inspired, the audio-video podcast where we bring you real stories from folks just like you and I who share stories of love and loss, struggles and perseverance, laughter and tears, and overcoming adversity. You know, they say that this life is not a dress rehearsal. Live every day like it's opening night. And we have a very special guest who's with us here on this edition of Be Inspired. Hi, once again. I'm Bert Barron.
And I'm Lisa Anderson.
And we welcome you to Be Inspired. And Lisa, I'm so excited. We have a bona fide professional actor with us here to share an incredible story, right?
Yeah, who was watching our first series, by the way, Vince Bandille. Yeah. It is great to have you on, and thank you for contacting us. And you do have a really inspiring story to tell, as well as a great acting career and a lot of background to that. And I always had a feeling we would connect. I'm going to see your play, which we'll talk about, 3 Egg Creams. But before that, I said, you know, when you called me and you said, I would really like to tell my story, and you told me some of it, you just don't know. Everyone has a story. They really do. And some are really tougher than others. And you came from Brooklyn, so my mother would love you. She loves anyone from, oh, you're from Brooklyn, yeah. I'm from Brooklyn. So how was your upbringing?
Well, I was born in Bay Ridge, area of Brooklyn, to first-generation Italian-American parents. And I definitely was off the bat, you know, not something they expected. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
My father was 52. My mother was 46 when I was born.
Surprise.
I had an 8-year-old, a brother who was 8 years older than I was at that time. And my 2 sisters were 20 and 22 years older than me.
Wow.
So I don't think I was kind of like, you know.
Planned.
Planned. So, and my mother was... She was the bedrock of the family, you know. It was me and my brother and my mother and my father who lived in our apartment in Brooklyn. My 2 sisters had already gone out of the house, and my mother was sickly, but my mother also had a problem with rage. You know, she'd go off the handle, and unfortunately, you know, that's something I had to live with on a daily basis. I would wake up and go, how's it going to go today? You know, and you know, it was both physical and verbal, and it was, on one day to the next, I wouldn't know if I was going to say something or do something, or look in a certain way that would set her off. So I kind of lived with this constant trepidation, and my father, on the other side, was an alcoholic. So he never said 2 words. Blue collar construction worker. You know, he loved his friends. They played cards and drank beer down at the social club, you know. And really didn't want much to do with participating with his family. You know, he just wanted to come home, eat his dinner, watch the 6 o'clock news, and then go to bed and wake up at 4:30 and do it all over again and have very little interaction.
I hate to say that, but a lot of families or couples were like that years ago. There was not, you know, conversation or this intimate, but this sounds like, it almost sounds like with your dad, he didn't want to tick off your mom, you know?
Well, you know what, I think, well, that could be true.
Set her off, or...
You know, but he was also I think he kind of just checked out of life in general. You know, he just didn't want, I mean, I have pictures of him holding me, and his face is kind of like,
oh, gosh.
You know, like, what do I have here, you know? I don't know if I was right. Listen, and my oldest sister, the oldest in the family, is a Franciscan nun, and she's in, you know, in the convent. And when my mother found out she was pregnant, my father would not go into the convent to share the news with her. So, you know, there was this sense of shame. So
they were older.
Well, it was 1960.
Yeah.
You know, so back then it wasn't like today.
Yeah.
You know, you have all these families having, oh, we'll wait till, you know, how late as we can. You know?
Tony Randall, what was he, 80 when he had a baby?
Right,
so
you know,
he
and
kind of changed
Mick Jagger.
the game.
I mean, look at Mick Jagger.
I hate that I said Tony Randall before Mick Jagger.
Well, he's but I knew that story as well.
Thought of it first, yeah.
But you know, but my mother was the one who was always around. My father provided financially, and my mother took care of the home. And I was a good kid. I mean, and I'm not saying that because I want to say, yes, I was, and I really wasn't, but I didn't really cause any trouble. But my
Quiet.
mother would get set off, and then she'd chase me and corner me and just, slap me, hit me, call me stupid. And I mean, there was a moment, she didn't like to be embarrassed. She'd like, and I was being taught by the same nuns that my sister was Franciscan.
I
was being
remember.
taught by the Franciscan nuns.
Yeah.
And it was in 5th grade, and I was having, and I have a learning disability as well, so I was having problem with division, long division. And
I still do.
and same here. And the nun called my home, and I heard my mother pick up the phone. I heard her say, yes, sister, and I knew exactly
you're
what was
going, oh,
happening.
crap,
And
yeah.
I'm going, oh no. She hung up the phone, and all of a sudden I hear, Vincent, and she just lost it. Why are you so stupid? Why are you so stupid? And I'm like, what? And she gets out the math book, she slams it on the table, she goes, we're gonna do this right now. And I'm like, okay. And then, but at that same time, because I couldn't do it, she was pulling my hair and smacking me and banging it against the kitchen wall, saying, damn it, why are you so stupid? You're going to get... And I'm like, so now you have to think, how can I do math under those conditions?
How could you do anything under those conditions?
Yeah, so now you have to imagine what I went forward in life thinking of myself,
Just an incredibly difficult upbringing. On one hand, you have a father who is virtually emotionless, like you said.
Correct, good word.
And then on your other hand, your mom is the complete opposite, where it sounded like you spent a lot of time, unfortunately, just living in fear of her, like you had mentioned about, is this the day that it's going to happen? And to have those two extremes, that'd be very difficult.
It was. And, and again, I really want to say those are very powerful moments, but the in-between moments, my mother was a good person. And as was my father, but my mother tried. You said something earlier about they did the best they could with what they knew how to do. Yeah. For me, I saw my father. He was a strong, very strong, Italian-looking man, construction worker. As a little boy, you look up to him, you see him shave, and you go, how do you do that? But
yeah.
I don't want to...
Looks like a god to you. It's
like a god.
Yeah.
And then I was playing stickball on the street, and, my father's laying on the couch, and one of the older kids pushes me, and I bang my head, and I come in. Now, I don't go to my father, I go to my mother. My father hears it, and he gets up, he goes, we're going to take care of this. And I'm like, my father's going to stick up for me. But what I didn't know was he was 3 sheets to the wind. And he comes out and goes, and all the kids, all my friends saw it. And it was just like, so...
There's those moments that never leave. I mean, you're a grown man now, and you can remember it like it's yesterday.
Oh, it's like it's yesterday. But the thing I did want to say was, unfortunately, my mother died when I was 14. So I never got to say, why did you do these things, And it was sudden. Now, she was sickly throughout my life, but this was like, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and my brother told me. But 2 weeks later, my father sits me down and says, you can either live with your aunt or you can live with your sister, but you can't live with me. So lose my mother in 2 weeks earlier. 2 weeks later, my father says, well, I can't take care of you. So 14 years old, I go out into the world, and not but a month or so later, someone says, smoke this. It'll make you feel good. And lo and behold, to hear the words, it'll make me feel good.
You needed something.
There was no question to turn it down. So that took me on the path of a 10-year journey on drug abuse. How do you deaden that pain? How do you, if you don't have that self-esteem, that
numb it,
nothing,
just to numb it,
especially in
just
your
anything to make
situation,
it go
Vince,
away.
where it just sounds like you had no role models in life. No one was there to inspire you, that you had to search elsewhere to find something in life that you could believe in.
Well, true, but I do want to say my brother, who was 8 years older than I was, he was.
Okay.
He was the actor. He was the songwriter. He was the poet. He turned me on to Hendrix. He turned me on to the Beatles. He turned me on to Phil Oakes. He was this sense. He goes, he'd be the guy. Say, come here, sit in this room. Stay on the corner of that bed. Don't you read these lyrics while you hear this. He was that kind of guy. And unfortunately, just a couple of days ago, it's been 17 years since he passed away at 50 years old.
Oh, gosh. And you two were really close.
Oh, well, I'm an actor because of him.
I was just going to say either the relationship, and you could write your own movie, by the way, because that's a really, really tough upbringing. I'm envisioning, what you went through in my head, and you didn't deserve any of it, as no one deserves any of that. But I'm also saying, well, maybe his mom her upbringing was really, really tough, or maybe she just had a rage issue. But nonetheless, you could either go one way or the other, and probably that's how you became an actor.
I do want to say my mom grew up in a poor family, and she was one of 21 kids.
Wow.
Right. So
21. As in 2-1.
So,
that's I mean, I've heard like 12 to 15 being the highest, so you can imagine her childhood wasn't exactly Ozzie and Harriet.
No.
Again, I'm dating myself with Ozzie and Harriet.
But I knew the
should have said the Brady Bunch. Thank you. No, but there you go. So the circle continues.
Yes,
and
yes.
Wow.
Right.
And I'm sure you had a lot of inner feelings that when you started acting that needed to come out.
That became my outlet.
Yeah.
Music and acting became my outlet.
Yeah.
Writing songs, getting on stage.
Being creative.
I mean, the first play I ever did was in second grade, and it was a little sketch called The Mad Dr. Zing. And we only rehearsed it once, and then there was the audience, people in the audience, and all of a sudden the theater went dark, the lights came up on stage, and I couldn't see anybody. And I remember going, I'm safe here. No one can touch me. No one can hurt me.
Wow.
I'm okay.
In second grade.
In second grade. I'm like, this is okay. I can pretend to be this thing, and I can control the situation in a sense,
I can see how that can be therapeutic and powerful, and in your case, maybe life-saving, Vince, and life-changing. And we're going to talk more about that coming up when Be Inspired continues.
Freestyle Marketing. For all of your marketing and promotional needs, follow or direct message Wendy for great ideas and first-class customer service. Contact Wendy at freestylemarketing.com.
Moving is difficult. At Lowe's, it doesn't have to be. For all of your residential and commercial needs in Central New Jersey, contact Lowe's Moving Service at 732-775-4118. That's Lowe's.
IgA Nephropathy Foundation of America is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to finding a cure for IgA kidney disease. If you or someone you know was recently diagnosed, please visit IgAN.org or contact 732-770-7377.
Also, thanks to Chain Gang Pro Performance Clothing, a new local company focused on providing activewear for your active moments. Check out their story and line of products at chaingangpro.com or follow their journey on Instagram or Facebook by searching Chain Gang Pro.
Hey, speaking of the old days, you remember Angela? Who's Angela? Well, you remember? Angela. Benny the Bull's daughter. That's right. Angela Rose Bernstein. A maiden, unmatched in beauty, smarts, and, well, until I met her, untouched by anyone anywhere. She looked more beautiful in that moment than ever. It's as if all that time chipped away anything earthly, till there was nothing left but the heaven beneath. You see? She really was an angel.
Welcome back to Be Inspired. Our guest is actor Vince Bandille, here with us this time around, an actor, and he's got a show that is currently on stage. He's going to give us some information about that. Vince, before the break, you were talking about just the release and the therapy and the sense of safety that you felt on stage. Take us through and how important that was at such a young stage in your life to sort of have this safe haven where you felt like you were untouchable and no one could hurt you, and why it was such a powerful thing for you.
Well, there's a search for who you are as a person. And as odd as it may sound, to step in another person's shoes began to give me this sense of empathy, where I could go, oh, wow, I'm going to play this person in a horrible situation, or I'm going to play this person who's been through this or been through that. And it gave me a perspective on my mother's character and my father's character and the pain that they must have been to do what they had given up a sense of being able to be open to responding in different ways. The only thing they knew how to do was react, and however that was. My father to deaden the pain, my mother to be a rageaholic. So, with each new thing, and then and having studied acting, I began to become more aware of people's conditions, and that kind of set me apart from going, okay, wait a minute, I can't play the victim all the time, which is something I did for quite a while through the drug years. That was me going, oh, poor me, poor me. On the other side of that is, it's not poor me. We're all struggling. We're all hurting.
You were escaping your pain, though.
I was escaping my pain.
Through the acting.
Through the acting, but at the same time, coming out the other side of it, I realized we all have a story to tell, and our first point of service is to tell it. And that's what I was learning through the stories that I don't like calling it acting or being an actor. I like being a storyteller. An actor sounds very self-indulgent. A storyteller is from the beginning of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
We've all sat around fires and said, this is storytelling. This Be Inspired is what we're doing, is telling our stories, which is in service to the rest of the community that hears it.
And I think that anyone who looks at you and looks at some of our guests, they feel like, wow, they can relate to you, and somehow everyone thinks that they're alone in their struggles and they're alone in their story. Right. And you say, and there still is that stigma, and yet you say, wow, look what he went through. Like, I understand that and I can relate to that. And it just, if we keep supporting one another and we keep showing everyone out there that this world isn't all, sometimes if you're on Facebook and everyone's on vacation, having a drink.
Sure, yeah.
And behind, it's Facebook happy and then real life happy.
Right.
And myself included, believe me.
But look, we all want to be able to.
Sure. You can't
say,
walk around doom and gloom all the time.
Here's the joy that I'm feeling.
Right.
And I always kind of like to say, look, I think we all come into this world and we're gifted with a tightrope. And if you think about kids, they throw their tightrope as high as 10,000 feet in the air, right? And they'll, a rock, that's something to eat, or, jump off this, I could do that. And through the growing up, we'll get this sense of, no, don't do that. No.
I know.
Stop.
Yeah.
No, back off.
Yeah.
Don't. And all of a sudden, our tightrope becomes lower and lower and lower and lower. And then I think what we need to do is look at how do we get that tightrope back up in the air again.
You have 2 sons, lovely wife.
Wonderful.
Do you think about that as you watch them grow up and you raise them? First of all, tell us about your family life. I know you're a great dad, by the way. I see the things that you really are, because you're aware of your own upbringing. And
it does spill.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question. You can't help but let it spill. And my boys are 15 and 12, and they're both adopted. We couldn't have children. So when they came into my life, I was like, oh boy, what a mess of a dad they got here,
If you only knew.
If you only knew my life. So I had to learn, because you know what, to be very honest, one of the first instincts I had when they were small was the template that just bubbled up in my consciousness was my mom.
Sure.
I had no other way of thinking of it.
Right.
I had to circumvent that. I had to pop open the hood of my brain and go, get that software out. That's not yours. Got to learn
Your own.
Your own.
Yeah.
You got to have to write
Yeah.
it. You're going to have
your own way.
And hopefully,
Or give them to your wife and say, you handle it.
Yeah, here you go. Right?
Here, it's your job.
But they're beautiful. My wife is a wonderful woman. We've been together, married 25 years, been together 31.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And you wake up to life and you either have the courage to make the change or you don't. And we all have it. There's no question.
How do you see you're using your art to help other people change and overcome some adversity? What are some things you could suggest?
Well, I mean, theater is still, there's a very religious aspect to it. Lights go dark, we're looking up at something, and we're saying, what's this about? And, my job is not to show off. And unfortunately, a lot of, a lot of it is...
Yeah.
You got to come to a place of going, I'm going to get out of the way so this story can be told, which is really, in essence, what we do in life, is we got to get out of the way and show the world who we really are.
Yeah, that's checking your ego.
It's right.
Check
it. And I think what happens is if an audience can go, oh, that's me. Or, oh, God, I don't want to see that, but I got to look anyway. Yeah. I think that's a way that we, with the world of streaming and 7 billion things to watch on any given night.
Overload, yeah.
There could be an overload. But I think what's happening is we're finding out that storytelling will never die. Yeah. It'd be the one thing that will remain.
As we wind down your current show, talk about where people can catch that and what's that all about.
Sure. 3A Creams, A Rhapsody in the Rain, is a one-man show. It's about first love and the rediscovery of that love. I don't want to give too much away, but it's about a guy from the Bronx, Vin Marone. It's who I play. And it all takes place in this egg cream shop. Now, I don't know do you know egg cream?
As a kid from Jersey, it's chocolate milk and seltzer. Am I close?
Well, right. Right. There's no eggs. There's no eggs.
Really? I thought there were.
No eggs.
Oh,
it's Fox's U-Bet. It has to be Fox's U-Bet. The milk and then seltzer, and it gives this nice foamy head. Oh. And they usually have it with a pretzel stick. So he grew up in the Bronx.
We have to have them.
He grew up in the Bronx, and he meets everyone. I engage the audience. The audience is the people in the egg cream shop for me. Right. And I tell them the story about this girl, Angela, who I met when I was 17. There's so much more to it than that. And then it's done in 3 movements, which is the 3 egg creams.
Wow. One-man show, huh?
One-man show. It's all done within about
great.
80 minutes. And we're doing it in the next one is at Dante's Hall in the Stockton University in Atlantic City. Then we're doing it at the Strand Theater in Lakewood,
That's the one I'm
New Jersey.
All right. Well, we'll look it up. 3acreams.com.
3acreams.com.
How did I know that?
Yes. It's the number 3acreams, plural.com. And we also have a Facebook page. Just look up 3A Creams, and we're there as well.
We'll be sure to check it out. Vince Bandille, thank you for being here on Be Inspired. Continued success, and wonderful to have you here on the show this time around. Thank you
very much. And thank you both for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story, Vince.
Thank you.
I know that a lot of people could relate to that, and to see you, what an empathetic guy you turned out to be, and an excellent guy. It's good to see that you found the good within you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Bert Barron.
And I'm Lisa Anderson.
And thank you for watching Be Inspired.
Next on Be Inspired.
As we turn into the first buoy, I
wake up in the ICU. I mean, I had tubes coming out of everywhere. Major concussion. I broke 3 vertebrae in my neck. I broke 11 ribs. Where the boat landed, you could actually see a line from where my neck broke all the way through to where my ribs broke.
And your friend?
He didn't make it to the hospital. And I saw Michael posting about this Miracle Express thing, and I said, I'm in.
Next episode on Be Inspired.
Be Inspired podcast, directed by Rod Weber. Production assistant, Carlo Anthony. Post-production editor, Rebecca Gruber. Be Inspired with your hosts, Lisa Anderson and Bert Barron. Co-producers, Lisa Anderson and Erwin Sternberg. Executive producers, Rod Weber and Sean M. Sternberg. Created and produced by Michael R. Doyle.
The Be Inspired podcast series is dedicated to the memory of Barbara DeVallinger.
The guests we bring on to our podcast each and every week are the most inspiring folks. And if something touches you, we urge you to reach out to Be Inspired. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening.